Hello, I'm Dr. Bond. This is Bond Report. And today we have BAFA number 8, Intro to Minions, the concept of minions in general. Francis Bacon said, "You will wind up recruiting young men and women. Young men are fitter to invent than to judge, for new business than for old business, and for execution rather than counsel." So if you're only going to use them for 1 for 3 for that, you're recruiting coolie labor when you go out there and you're going to get some minions to work for you so you can pad your CV a little more. How do you recruit minions? Why would anybody want to be a minion? And in general, you're a snake oil salesman. There are some fundamental rules to follow. Number 1, never wise up the rubes. Number 2 is actually a quote from Congressman David Crockett from Tennessee. Promise the world, promises cost nothing. He had said this several times when he's running for Congress. And it's David Crockett, doesn't like to be called Davy and never did. David, don't call me Davy Crockett, the actual historical one. Promises cost nothing. So, tell a bunch of lies. Appeal to fellow feeling. We're all in this together. You don't think that, but you're going to say that. Tell them they'll learn a lot. That may be true. It may be some melancholy truths they learn, and not the things that they have in mind, but it'll be what you have in mind as they work in your salt mines. Just don't wise them up. Never be a slave to the truth is worth repeating. Now, one of the ways you make this attractive, it's a carrot and stick method of human motivation. And right now, you're all carrot. The stick comes later as you wise up. There's a Churchill quote where he says something like, "Gee, that sounds different." And he said something about the American alliance in the Second World War. And he said to one of his own guys, "That was when we were wooing them, and now they're in the harem. And this is the way you talk to them." One of the ways you make that sound attractive, you have to make this sound attractive to a bunch of kids who don't have a lot of experience, is say there's a lot of competition, but it's going to be easy for you. You're going to be able to make out here, and you're going to be able to rise quickly because there's very little competition. That's what Herman Mankiewicz is trying to say here in one of his classic letters. Millions are to be grabbed out here, and your only competition is idiots. Don't let this get around. That's a good one. And so you're selling snake oil. You know, partner, your snake oil there looks like about a quart low. Let's see what we can do to fill that up for you. You talk in terms of their interest. Actual higher education is dangled. You know, you'll have this extra advanced degree. You'll be a jolly good fellow. You'll do this, you'll do that. Robert Moses here was a classic New York developer that changed their landscape greatly. I've long since abandoned the notion that higher education is essential to happiness, success, or anything else. Hot houses of learning don't always produce anything edible. And that has been my experience. I've known some ophthalmologists, academic guys who were hothouse flowers, and they never produced much edible. I tried to write a paper with one time, and it was like trying to drag a body up a flight of stairs. Here, Tom Wolfe, in his days at kind of primping, he had up the college educations of Steinbeck, Hemingway, and Faulkner. You get to about spring break, freshman year, this is the amount of it you really need. Now you're recruiting, usually you do it pretty hard on one at a time. The new Hampshire license plate here, live free or die. A lot of people take that as a slogan and do it entirely differently. You'll meet them in the office one day when they're in their frugality, live free or die, you know. That's got multiple meanings. One boy, this is a New England saying, I guess, one boy is almost as good as a man. 2 boys are about as good as half a man, and 3 boys are useless. That's about right. But basically, when you get them in there, we got to have this paper done today. You've got these people, these horses you're trying to make pull in unison in your brutal Ben-Hur chariot race. This is Joe Hill, a famous guy who was murdered by strikebreakers in 1915. And she sung about by Joan Baez at Woodstock. Not that that's going to work all day, live on hay, and, you know, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. Joe Hill, he's in a couple of Joan Baez songs. Charles Kingsley here is an interesting guy. And he's saying about getting more work out of these folks. He said, we've used the Bible as if it were an ordinary constable's handbook and an opium dose for keeping beasts of burden patient while they're being overloaded. This is a great sentence. And thinking of the theme from Rawhide, this goes back to me, and I'm showing my age here, but all the people are out on this cattle drive, and it's got a finite time, a fixed time, and you're trying to get them, hey, it's only for a year, it's only for 2 years, all the things you're missing, good vittles, love, and kissing, they're waiting at the end of your ride. I can't sing it like Frankie Lane did, but there it is. And you can also dangle this in front of people. Hey, you're a pawn, there's 8 of you, and you can always get to that back row, become a full academicus twiticus in your own right. It's now what you're not talking about. It's a long way. It's chancy. It's high casualty. And the dead pawns in there, it's a high attrition, tough game, being a pawn. I've played some chess in my life, and I've never seen anybody queen 2 pawns in the same game. And it's, fairly unusual. Good players won't let you do that, and it's pretty rare, and usually none of them make it, and you start with 8. So it's mediocre teachers tell, good teachers explain, superior teachers demonstrate, great teachers inspire. Atwiticus regards the minions under his control/tutelage as piñatas filled with work that he needs to whack viciously to get some work out of them, mines from which every last ounce of ore needs to be extracted by whatever means possible. Beasts of burden to be worked until the point of death. Now, being gentle or mendacious, which means to be a liar, or both of those, inspire minions to greater heights of work. Try a little harder, so much the better, and you're full of that. It's cheap and it's easy. Now, one of the also main techniques is the glittering, never to happen. Academic, bright, sunlit, happy hunting ground is dangled in front of people, and with varying degrees of cynicism on your part. But a truly Staccanovite zeal is, of course, strongly recommended. You go in there and fulfill that 5-year plan. And Atwiticus, and also you gamble this golden fantasy of, hey, listen, we'll be practiced here in the same town. We'll be pals. We train together. We'll have the same thing. Won't it be great? Won't it be something? Nothing could be further from the truth. Won't it be cool? Now, actually, just couldn't resist it. I'll take things that you dangle for 400, Alex. That's a slightly different game, but the work is the same. You can promise fame. When Bonaparte was told that fame is fleeting, the retort was fame is fleeting, obscurity is forever. Just a great quote that needs to be in there. And there's nothing you hate like a rival, if you're you. And the idea that you bring up some viper in your bosom to be not only compete with you 2,000 miles away, to compete with you in the same town is ludicrous in the extreme. But what you want to be cool, we'll be pals. That's like 3 big steps removed from the truth, because you don't intend a rival, you don't intend particularly the rival to be close to you squared. And, and also you have this private opinion of the guy's intellect of Flaubert that nothing is worse than to see idiots succeed in enterprises you've failed in. I just like that quote. Yeah, if you're going to study smugness, cynicism, and accomplished lying, of course, you got to go to the French, who are the masters of this when you get serious. And by the time that this particular soon-to-be a minion has graduated, you will have had yourself convinced that he's been stealing your ideas, cribbing your brilliant plans, and preparing to stab you in the back for the entire 2 years. This is the way you'll explain it to yourself what a dirty double dealer you really are. And the first-class cynicism, the French are never disappoint. Once the minion is out of the thralls of striving for you, slaving for you, he now becomes a rival with no particular in-between point. And he really, in fact, hated rival should be just one word. There's many things like that, but I could look up in the dictionary, hated rival. There's many things like that that could be very much just one word. And, and you will screw and undermine him at every chance you get, and something that you'll invent, as you do all rivals, real and imagined, when you're recruiting minions for your next crowd of minions. On graduating, he'll find that he's gone from hero of the Soviet Union to enemy of the people with no particular intervening stages, which is always an interesting thing. Now, the former minion will find that to be true, Now, here's Cher talking about the way it used to be. Now, in the old days, if any of my former husbands could have screwed me the way Warner screwed me, I'd still be married. I always thought, when we said a Stakhavanite zeal early on, Alexei Stakhavanite was a real guy. He worked in Stalin's Russia, during Stalin's 5-year plans in the late 20s and 30s, and he was an exceptionally hardworking miner. I don't know what he mined, and he had encouraged other workers in over-fulfilling quotas, in being a role model, in being other things. Here he is with his, I guess, folding pick in his hand or something, folding shovel. And he called this the Stakhavanite movement. He was on the cover of Time magazine. I got to say, looks like a miner. He's got one of those hats that look like that. But here he is on the cover of Time magazine, encouraging other workers with what's called the Stakhavanite movement to, let's overfulfill quotas. Let's show people the glories of socialism, and we'll show that it can work. Here's Carlo Ponzi, and here's one of his earlier mugshots. And here is where he didn't follow his own advice. But here you can see that is the most cheerful mugshot, I think, in all history. There's a guy looking right at the camera saying, listen, we're going to make you rich. Guy behind the camera that's a public servant. We're going to do this, do that. We're going to circulate your money. You're going to be okay. You just don't see this attitude much in a mugshot, and you've got to admire it. This is Carlo Ponzi himself. And he didn't follow his own advice. And what he went wrong as he was in Boston, he had the mayor, the police chief, were all investors with Carlo Ponzi. And he said, at one moment, you keep your ear to the ground, and when things start to go sideways, unmistakable signs, you just pack up your stuff, throw it in the trunk of your car. He said, walk to your car calmly, get in your car, and don't look in the rearview mirror, and don't look back, and drive out of town as far away as you can go. Just get the hell out and never look back. He didn't follow his own advice. And he got caught, and he himself didn't even, well, that's at the bottom of the slide, he himself didn't even follow his own advice. Keep your ear to the ground. When the signs are unmistakable, come away. There's a picture of Carlo Ponzi in happier times and thinking about things. Now, no one's a stranger to this fantasy when they're in practice. There the day comes when you are talking to some particularly exasperating situation, but it's not just that day. It's been a week of this, and you've got like the fourth one of this particular morning, and it's something that's your fault or something you can't explain away, and it's just, get this time, you're tired, and so and so. And actually, when you're standing there, in my own case, you could probably hear some, probably not audible to others, although it sounds like to you it can be, you hear some unmistakable snap. And at that moment, when you hear that snap, you smile, politely excuse yourself, get out, walk slowly to your car, start that up, pull your car away, and just drive south as far as your tank of gas will carry you. Listen to nothing, look straight ahead, and when your car runs out of gas, go to the side of the road, get out of your car, walk to the nearest rundown restaurant, and say, hi, your name's Arlo Karp. You're a short order cook, and you don't like to be asked a lot of questions, and you like to be paid in cash, and just start a new life right there. Thank God that this is a Morlock for one of the movies, The Time Machine. They're getting made up. This is a particularly ugly-looking guy. And thank God these poor troglodyte fellows didn't go the Morlock way, where they're going to even that up. Here's your fellows coming for you one night. This has got to be an academic dream, where all these fellows, you've been doing that to all those years, have turned this into some H.G. Wells Morlocks. They're wised up and they're coming for you. Here they are, what they look like in that particular movie, as they finally get what Joe Hill was trying to tell them all the time: work all day, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. They didn't get their pie in the sky. They got you as a sworn enemy. Thank you very much. Please subscribe. Please listen to further reports. Thank you.